Hey everybody, welcome back to Smooth Talk. I got an awesome guest today, Mr. John Maupins. How you doing, John?
Good, man. Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. So, for those that don't know, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, like you said, my name is John Maupins. I own the Sedalia Body Shop. We do personal. When I say we, it's we have a team of folks at the body shop. I'm the owner. As long I'm sorry,
You're
as
good.
well as my wife. But like I said, we have a team of us. There's myself and my wife. We do most of the personal training, and we have coaches there too. Darian Weeks, he does a lot of training there. He does some of the mixed martial arts training. We've got Chris Hawkins. He does a lot of my wrestling training, and then we have Chris Rippey, who does the boxing training. So we got a nice little team over at the Sedalia Body Shop.
Yeah, it's it's great. I've seen all your posts because we are friends on Facebook, and I I admire a lot of the work that I see getting put in over there
Word.
for a lot of the younger. And I'll tell you, one of the platforms that I love that you have over there is you have is it an all females class?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
tell me about that. How's that going?
So honestly, it's kind of weird how it all worked out. I've been training my wife on and off for a few years, and I've encouraged. You need to learn some kind of self defense. You need to learn self defense.
Hmm.
And one day she was at Walmart, and she was followed around Walmart by some guys that kind of freaked her out a little bit. So she came home and she was like, "All right, babe, I'm ready." I'm like, "Ready for what?" She was like, "I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to learn some self defense." Okay, cool. So I kind of took it to some of the ladies that I was already training and asked them how they felt about it, and they seemed to like the idea. Well, they liked the sound of the idea, and then once they kind of got to see what was going on, they were very, very sketchy. Now it was a year back in March, so we've been going pretty steady. All three ladies are blue belts in the American Jiu Jitsu. Um, and it is an all ladies class. And American Jiu Jitsu isn't the same as some of the other Jiu Jitsu like some people think about. A lot of people think about Jiu Jitsu, and the first thing that comes to their mind is guys in gis and some no gi, but most of the part is guys in gis wrestling, what I'm saying, so on and so forth. But American Jiu Jitsu is it's the same concept, but there's a little bit more added to it. All fights start on the feet for the most part.
Oh yeah.
So American Jiu Jitsu is traditional Japanese Jiu Jitsu, which also involves striking, and they did a little couple twists to it, added some American kickboxing to it, some more wrestling techniques to it. So basically, it's an art form based for mixed martial arts, MMA, cage fighting, if you will.
And in today's world, it's sad to say, but everybody needs to be vigilant. They need to have their head on a swivel. I watched a video. I know it's just short. I'm sure people saw it on YouTube. And it was like a guy, and he's sitting on a bench, and he sees a guy with his headphones on, head down, wearing flip flops, walking across, and he goes, "This guy's an easy target to get mugged." And then he sees and the guy, next guy comes by, postured up, looking around, just tennis shoes, and he's like, "This guy, not so easy." And we don't always think about how the perception of our look and our confidence and how we walk
For sure.
can have that effect. That also being said, when you said like it's not always what people think, I think the world, especially with social media and the quick access to everything, it's very easy to walk in a gym and get humbled
Oh yeah.
real
Oh
fast.
yeah.
Real
Yeah,
fast.
yeah, yeah.
It's like you should go in there and just and I think some of the best people in the world, they go into a gym and it doesn't matter how experienced they are, they just say, "Hey, treat me like I'm a day one.
For
Let's
sure.
start there and then we'll go forward from there."
For sure.
Eh, Go ahead.
There's been I sometimes it gets under my skin. Sometimes, what I'm saying, as a coach, sometimes it gets under my skin. Sometimes it's like, you know, they've got to learn the lessons one way or the other. Because you will have those people that come in the gym, and for one reason or another, They're looking to prove something immediately, right out the gate,
Mhm.
and that's kind of one of those deals. It takes me a minute, but it's one of those deals where it's like, hey, why don't you go ahead and jump in there with Darian? And once we do that, Darian, it's, he kind of knows the cues as far as
Mhm.
humble him real quick. D, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of one of those deals we have to do. But I admire a person that comes in there ready to learn. If when those people that come in there ready to learn, I I'm that guy that wants to give you 100% of everything that I have. If you come in here and the first thing you do is want to show me what you're made of and so on and so forth, I'm that's not really my game. It's not something that I'm about, man.
Well,
And
you wouldn't go to a school and be like, "Give me college algebra."
right, right,
Right? It's
right,
like
right,
you have to sit there and you have to prove that you know the basis before you can even and pass those before you can ever get to those classes.
for sure.
So, and that being said, I think the first time I did any type of kickboxing or martial arts, I remember they put me on a bag and they're like, "Go for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes." And I mean, I think I was 18, and I'm just like, "Oh, bag
Easy,
work, easy
easy
work,"
money.
and I mean, 2 minutes of just having your arms do that. Oh wow,
Shoulders dead.
dead. And
Yeah.
then they say, keep your hands up,
Oh yeah.
keep your hands up in between, And I don't even think. See, I have a huge appreciation because I'm sure we're going to revert to a lot of MMA talk and UFC and stuff. But
Sure.
when we're watching those fights, when you see somebody drop their hands in a fight, that's like sign number one.
Oh yeah.
That is
Oh
to
yeah.
me, mouth breathing, here, there,
Oh yeah.
I think that's. But when they start dropping their hands, you're like, oh no. It's
It's
like,
it's basically like the end of or the beginning of the end right there,
yeah.
man. For sure. And I'll tell you what, I've caught myself, and I don't want to say being humbled because as crazy as it may sound, I'm all about getting my butt kicked. And I mean that, and I mean that
Yeah.
in I mean that in the best way. Like I'm all about going to the gym. I'm a brown belt in American Jiu-Jitsu, not a brown belt in traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a brown belt in American Jiu-Jitsu. Big, big difference. A brown belt in traditional Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Mhm.
He's probably got a little more Jiu-Jitsu than I have.
Gotcha.
My wrestling might be a little better. My striking is probably going to be better. There's a very high percentage. If he hasn't done any previous striking, my striking is going to be better. Just because we learn everything together. We learn the striking and with the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu. We learn it all together. It's a system that's built. If you don't learn X, 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 you can't belt up. So
And,
it's like you
and
got
like
to
you
learn
said,
all three parts.
most fights, well, obviously in a cage, it's one thing, but even in the real world, where do they start?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and to be honest with you, uh, it's if you're dealing with multiple people, it's probably best to know how to strike
Yeah.
because you don't want to have to go to the ground with multiple
Oh
people. It's a
yeah.
little.
Get kicked in the back of the
There
head
you
and all the
go.
above,
Yeah.
man. There's a lot to it. I'll say I'm about. I try to tell people all the time. You never know. Like you can be humbled so fast by the person you think of the least. What do I want to say? Aggressive, dangerous. Um, I'm gonna use a buddy of mine, prime example.
Yeah.
His name is Mark Diebold.
Okay.
He's from the Lake of the Ozarks. He's a recovery specialist. As far as he's a underwater recovery specialist. He owns works for a company that recovers boats that might sink and stuff like that. Anyway, might be 150 pounds. Just looks. At no disrespect, Mark, I love you. Glasses, you know what I'm saying. Just
Mm-hmm.
looks like your average computer tech.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
Black belt in Gracie Hamada Jiu Jitsu. I've never been ragdolled so much in my life. I'm 215 pounds. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 15 years. I've held down some of the biggest, strongest people you can imagine. This dude's 150 pounds soaking wet, and like it just goes to show you that martial arts is it's dangerous. It's scary. Like I said, I've got 15 years experience. This dude's got 17 years experience, and I've never ever felt so helpless in my entire, and this
That
is recent.
who was it? I don't know if you saw that. Did you see that when like Thor and Martins Lucy
It's a scary deal. You
that
got this little bitty
but world class, and you got world class uh, strongman
yeah.
in
What?
there.
And he's huge. He's
Oh, they're over
almost
three
7 foot, isn't
hundred.
he?
Yeah. Oh, Thor. Yeah.
He's
I
a
mean,
big
he's
guy.
like he'll walk around even not training around 340,
That's scary.
and he just taps them all.
Oh yeah,
Taps them
yeah.
like it's just another day in the park.
Oh yeah. It's scary,
That
man.
conditioning is something else too. That is amazing.
So I just recently stepped into the gi. I've always done no gi just because of I've always looked at a gi like I don't need a gi. I do MMA. We don't wear gis in MMA. I've always been like no gi, no gi. And something as I've gotten older and a more appreciation for the art, something says try the gi. Half of me says it's one of the worst mistakes I've ever made. The other half says it's the best thing you can ever do. Reason being is because I've gone so many years doing jujitsu.
Battery low.
I've gone so many years doing jujitsu, and I haven't experienced the gi deal
I'm gonna let you keep talking. I'm
for
just
sure.
gonna make sure that
For
this
sure.
is still going, but you're good.
Haven't
Battery low.
I haven't experienced the gi situation. So 14 years in, 15 years in, this whole gi situation, it's it's the new.
Battery low.
I want to say it's the new life, honestly, just simply because now you're not grabbing a wrist, you're grabbing a lapel, you're basically grabbing pants, and you're grabbing collars, and you're grabbing this, and they're able to grab this, and they're able to grab that, and it makes the whole jujitsu situation completely different. Almost. I'll say when I first started as a white belt, one of my worst things was uh, um, my what do you call it? Claustrophobia, claustrophobic as could be. So, in getting in a choking situation, I would always like freeze up. I'm always quick to tap out in the choking situation as a white belt. And as the belts progressed, I got better at being claustrophobic in these claustrophobic situations underneath somebody with their, buried by their chest or, just in a situation where you feel trapped. I got better at being that. And then a couple months ago, I decided to do this gi thing. And like I said, it's a whole new world, man. It's a whole new world.
The only I didn't really have any experience in a gi, but in our when we did combatives in the military, we'd
Yeah,
have to wear our tops,
yeah, yeah,
and those chokes, like a gi choke,
yeah, yeah,
leaving them red marks on your neck.
yeah.
That it's no joke. People have to, and there is some practicality to it with the fact that we wear clothes,
Right, right.
So there is that big practicality to it. Uh, Now another thing I'll ask you in high school, and my question is to you, like it's I think first off that's a great thing to start on self defense
For sure. Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
conditioning for those muscles. But what do you think in, let's say, the sport aspect of the UFC or any of these places fighting? What do you think the top type of martial arts is?
Wrestling,
Wrestling. So it
hands,
is okay.
hands down,
Okay, because I said the same thing.
hands down.
That's where it comes to me. I'm always going to say that wrestling is the best prerequisite
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
have to go into mixed martial arts.
Hands down.
Now, why do you think that?
It's the hardest to learn.
Hmm.
Um, it's so much easier to teach someone to throw a jab than it is to teach someone to control their body to get in and out of sticky situations. Um, a person that's been wrestling for a lifetime has a different strength. They have a different mindset. They have a different belief in themselves. It's different, different. Um, what I'm trying to make people understand, especially now that I'm older and I've taken up more wrestling. Um, if I would have wrestled in school, my martial arts tenure would have been 20 times different. Reason being is because I had zero wrestling ability. Zero. I never wrestled a day in my life.
Mm.
I went 13-5 off of ground and pound in jiu-jitsu. So imagine if my ground and pound in jiu-jitsu
Battery low.
was capped off with a lifetime of wrestling.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like,
I always felt like learning the control of somebody else as well.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
and how they're going to manipulate you as well.
leverage.
Yeah, there is a different type of mental fortitude that comes with that, and I feel like in the UFC or a lot of the fights you watch, the more that you see that are more of the people that are actually against the cage or just held down. That's where it's at. Like George St. Pierre to me is the GOAT.
Yeah,
I know that there's a lot of good fighters like
for
John
sure.
Jones and people, but I think he's the GOAT because the thing about him is you knew what he was going to do.
Period.
You knew what he was going to do. All you had to do was stop him,
Yeah.
and people couldn't do it.
I say this, like, one thing that I try to preach to parents right now to get their kids in, like, cool, get them in jujitsu, yes, but as far as like the jujitsu, the wrestling thing goes, the better wrestler you are, the better jujitsu guy you are, and the reason being is because it's a process. Jiu-jitsu is wrestling, position, submission. And that's all there is to it. Wrestle, position, submission. You have to wrestle yourself into a position. You have to hold that position until you can slowly get your submission. And with that being said, once you learn to wrestle like at a young age, say if you've ever watched a wrestling match, like when they're young, 5, 6, 7 years old, when they're just starting, these kids cry.
Mm-hmm.
Very few of them don't cry. And the reason being is because they're put in awful, awful situations. Like, I don't know if you've ever been put in a half Nelson and on your stomach and like wrenched to your back. That is awful.
Does
Or
not feel good.
if someone gets you in a
Battery
front
low.
headlock and they've got their body weight on you and you're on your face and chest and they've got their body weight, that's awful. And for a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid to have to endure that, it takes you to another level as an adult because the trials and tribulations that you've been through wrestling, the pressure, the the pressure that you've been through as a wrestler, all that weight, all that adversity, trying to get off the bottom of somebody, it makes you a different adult.
And I think in the same aspect as you're saying as an adult, I bet for you, knowing that your son has training probably comforts you
More
as
than
as a parent.
more than you would know, more than you would know.
Because it's not that you in any I mean every martial artist will tell you it's not about finding conflict. It's about being prepared for a situation that you
Yeah.
hope never comes. And in that aspect you're like, well, I know he's prepared to a level. And that's better than most.
That goes for everybody in my family, from my
Mhm.
wife to I've got 4 kids. I've got 2 boys and 2 girls. I've got a 14-year-old daughter who she's got a couple years of training. Um, I would say if push comes to shove, she's gonna know basic. She knows basic striking, basic striking. I wouldn't put her in a match right now by any means. My son, couple weeks of conditioning,
Mhm.
6 weeks of conditioning, I put him in the cage against any amateur grown man that they have out there, simply because he's been striking since he was 6 years old. He's been grappling since he was 8 years old. Not like straight wrestling, but he's been involved in martial arts somehow, like hardcore since he was 6. And now, last year, his first year of like legit high school wrestling, he made it deep. He made a
Battery
deep
low.
district run and got injured, but probably could have went to state. Probably could have made some noise his first year. He's gonna do that this year. Injury
Okay.
free, he's gonna go to state this year and he's gonna make some noise. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
We'll be watching.
For sure,
That's
for
just to
sure.
tell you. I definitely. So that's the other thing about. Let's talk about the striking you just said. The crazy thing to me is I don't think people understand how easy it is to really break your wrist throwing a punch,
Man.
and even on a bag.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we got a lot of people don't even realize too. There's usually 3 types of bags.
Yeah.
You got a soft bag,
Sure.
you got a medium, and then you got your hard bag.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I I like the hard bag. One of the places I trained, they put a wooden board up too, and they put basically it looked like a bean bag, just a rice bag
Nice.
up, and that's what you practice on.
There's
Is a
your
rice bag.
conditioning right there, boy.
And that's a quick way if you're not punching right to get yourself
Yeah,
correct, because
sure.
the rest of that week you're gonna be like, oh,
Yeah.
you know.
I am a technician, technique. And that's why honestly I do the best I can for the MMA guys that are like new guys, like strictly new. No wrestling, no background. We need to do one-on-one. I try not to put them people in my class, with my regular class.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have any wrestling background whatsoever, it's gonna be a long class, every single class. Because like I don't teach wrestling moves. I teach what to do off of a wrestling move. I'm not a wrestler. I don't know how to teach wrestling. I know how to teach MMA, not the same as wrestling.
Yeah, a lot of defensive tactics.
A lot of stuff you're gonna do in wrestling, like you're not gonna do that in MMA. A lot of stuff in MMA you're not gonna do that in wrestling. So it's a little bit different. However, like a lot of 99.5% of the stuff in wrestling, you can somehow transfer to.
I would just say the biggest difference is, you know, obviously in wrestling you're not trying to go to your back,
Right.
whereas in MMA you might full guard.
Oh yeah,
But
because I will New York Minute.
yeah, it's when I was in North Carolina, they had a big tournament. You know, they do a combatives tournament,
Yeah.
and I trained with this guy quite a bit. He ended up winning 3rd overall.
Pulling guard.
Well, the crappy part is he had a chance to go to the finals. Should have, you know, I won't say he would have got first. I don't know if he would have got first or second.
Sure.
But in the match before that got him into the 3rd place position, he was in guard. When they stood up, that other dude, I mean, bloody. I mean, he just beat the tar out of this dude in his guard. And some people don't. I know in most MMA, you know, that's not a thing. They're
Right.
always going to account for position, but don't think that you can't do damage.
I was just watching, and it's funny you say that. Pat Curran versus AJ McKee, round number 1. Pat Curran took AJ McKee down, probably like the last minute and a half, and AJ McKee just elbow, cut his face, won the round. Like a minute. Generally, if you take a person down with a minute and a half left in the round,
Mm-hmm.
if you're just controlling them, doing minimum damage, just because you got that takedown in control, you won that round. However, that person on the bottom is inflicting damage, hence AJ McKee. Pat Curran got up bloodied as all heck, and face beat up. That round apparently, of course, went to AJ McKee from the bottom.
Oh,
So it's hard to say, but you can't get it. You know what I'm saying?
who's your current favorite fighter?
Oh man, probably Justin Gaethje.
Oh, you're a Gaethje fan? Oh, Mr. Homer Simpson. I love him.
Mainly because he's so cool, calm, and collective, and he's such a wrecking machine. His whole fighting demeanor is to put on a good show, and I'll say Justin Gaethje, of course, John Jones, of course, but just all around, just favorite to watch. Yeah. Justin Gaethje, Alexander Volkan.
That's it. That's mine, right? Right, current.
Yeah,
Current.
it's tough,
And
dude.
I mean,
It's tough.
I hate to give the GSP comparison but I do feel like, obviously the sport evolves. You know what I mean? So if Volkanovski, which we know he was sitting at a rugby player at like 240 at one point, it's like, but that guy is it's amazing to me that he can be that big, and then he goes down, but he has the strength of the 240. He can ragdoll people.
Dude, watching him fight Islam was like, I've never felt so good, because I don't know, I'm not racist, but I just don't like the Dagestani I don't like that whole situation. Like they just
I get it.
I
'Cause
don't even know.
It's the same. Every one of their fighters has the
It's
same concept.
Same thing over and over. Which, if it works,
Do you feel like he won that fight?
who?
Volk.
Volk? 100%.
I was so mad
100%.
when you're
Like,
ending round 5. Just you know what I mean?
like even with Volk, even with Islam on his back, like he's talking crap, punch him in his face.
yeah, when he was against the fence, he was just like,
he's
"You're not
punching him
even."
in his face.
He left his neck wide open. He's like, "Go ahead, grab it."
Talking bad to him. We're not gonna say the words that he was calling
Yeah.
him, but I mean, that's pretty rough.
And his last fight, the one that just happened this past weekend, I mean,
I was scared. Hey, listen, oh boy, is scary. What's the name?
was it right?
The cat that he fought.
I can't even think of
Yair Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
He's scary, dude. Like his kicks, his everything is scary. That dude's so unorthodox. I'm like, oh man, Volk. And then he was longer than Volk. Shoot, boy, Volk showed you what's up, man.
Do you remember the first time getting kicked in the leg?
Do I?
Yeah.
I don't specifically remember that time, but I didn't take many more after that.
You start to. It's funny because it's like people watch that and they don't realize it's like, man, if you're heavy on
I
that.
do. I do. Bobby Cooper.
Yeah.
Bobby Cooper was the first person to make me think, oh God, I don't ever want to be kicked in the leg again. Yep.
I mean, it's one of them where it's like, I don't remember who kicked me. I really don't. It was probably in some class doing something, But it was one of those where I immediately remembered, like, well, don't put the pressure. It's like you're on your back foot.
Oh, yeah.
You stay on your back foot. Because
that's my weapon of choice.
Yeah.
I have really extremely sharp shins, like really sharp, horrible shins. So as far as my stand-up game,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a leg kicker. I kick and I kick and I kick. I throw probably just as many leg kicks as I do punches.
Yeah, Darian, watching some of his, I know it, and it shows.
Oh,
know,
that's
his front kick, his crane kick.
Oh yeah,
is so good.
That teep to the belly, it's like a jab, dude.
And people don't get that either. It's like core conditioning in sports. You hear it all the time. Baseball, but you can get the ball out there, have a strong core.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah, weightlifting in general, core. It's all core. MMA, same thing. One shot.
I will tell you, I preach leg kicks and body shots.
Mm-hmm.
Leg kicks and body shots. Leg kicks. Who cares about punching them in the face? Break them down, and then you don't have to worry so much about punching them in the face too hard. Once you break them down, get them folding up at the belly. Get them.
That tax will pay off.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I always think back to Forrest Griffin and Rampage.
Ah, them leg kicks.
The whole fight, and you knew they were hurting
Marshall
him.
Kemp. He's local-ish. He's out of Branson area. Dude, while I was training with Gage Young, I trained Gage Young to fight him. We had an 8-week camp. For 8 weeks, we worked on checking leg kicks, firing off leg kicks, checking leg kicks, firing off leg kicks. That kid probably never taken so many leg kicks in his life as he had to take working on that camp. And we shut them leg kicks down round 1. He got tired of throwing them leg kicks because every time he threw them leg kicks, Gage was on him, pop, pop, pop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just learning how to adjust.
Another really good thing that I saw in Darian's his last fight, and it's something everybody, I think they have their stickler things that they look at, they look for. My stickler thing is disengagement. I'm one of those people, if you're coming off the ground or you're in separation, those hands should be flying.
Period.
I mean, and he did such a good job. I was watching one of his separations. I know he had the elbow.
Throw 3.
And it's one of those where I'm just like, I feel like when guys go from the ground up, the first person that throws, that's probably who's going to win the fight.
Dude, you catch somebody on the way up, there's a 90% chance their chin is down. And if you bring that bad boy up when they're coming up, it's a good chance it lights out. My thing is, when you're breaking, throw 3. Anytime you're looking for separation, man, throw 3. I like listen to me yell at the guys at practice sometimes from the outside, and my wife tells me all the time, "You are so mean. You are so mean." You think Darian got to the UFC because I was nice to him?
Mm-mm. No.
I mean, I didn't get him there by myself, but he didn't get to the UFC because he's had nice trainers.
No.
Jose Zaragoza hasn't fought on top ranked boxing and on all these different promotions because we were nice to him. Like, this is fighting, and I'm hardcore. Don't ever get attacked without attacking back.
And you also have to, in that aspect, you have to understand. It's like I think your coaches, that they have your best interest in mind. You have to believe in that every time. I think one of the best training methods in, let's say, wrestling in general, right, is the Shark Tank. I mean, if you are like really wanting to train for a fight,
live there, baby.
You should go against a fresh guy.
Every 2 minutes.
Every 2 minutes, and you're gonna hate your life. I mean, and you're gonna become so defenseless at some point. And it doesn't matter. You just have to. It's grit, fortitude, and the grind, mental fortitude to keep going. Even though it's been 10 minutes. I got a fresh guy coming in. You're like, oh,
yeah,
my God.
It's funny you say that. It was a Shark Tank yesterday, just because of I think we did more. I think we did Shark Tank Monday, but like the last 30 minutes of practice yesterday, we do Monday, Wednesday grappling days. The last 30 minutes of practice yesterday, 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes, change partners. Wrestling. Every 2 minutes, change partners. My guys come in on a normal basis. Man, my body's so sore. I hurt so much. You got the weekend. You'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
It's fighting, man. It's fighting. I mean, this ain't shooting marbles. You ain't supposed to feel good.
If you can sit there and go, let's say, for 15 minutes with fresh guys, though, then you're ready. I think in that aspect, you know what I mean? Conditioning-wise, you should be ready. Because the idea is, I hope that my opponent can.
One of the ways we train Darian, and let me say this. I tell people this all the time. And until he gets his hands on you, until you're in there with him, you can hear it, but it's just like you hear it. You can't feel it until you feel it. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, that dude's got. If we're comparing ourselves to cars, we got 5 gears. Darian and his brother has 6.
Okay, yeah.
And it's just they have a different strength. They're just different. They're just very, very different dudes. And training with that dude is hard. It's hard to keep him going forward. One thing that we do with him a lot is, you say Shark Tank. So what we do is like, I'll hold mitts, and we got 4 or 5 guys circling around us while I'm holding mitts, and I'm holding mitts, and every 30 seconds somebody shoots, and he gets back up, and I'm holding mitts, and I'm calling combos, and in the middle of this combo, somebody shoots, and we'll do that for 5 minutes, and even at that point, everybody around him is like dead, and Darian's still ready to go. It's like, he's just different, man. That dude's he's just a different dude, man.
And that's another beautiful way of sensory overload, to keep calm, cool, and collective as this stuff's going on. So, again, when you're finding yourself, like you said, it's like if somebody's never had somebody on top of them for the first time, it's your first day, and now you're getting smothered, and you're sitting there, or if they're wearing a gi, and that gi's, you're breathing in their gi in and out. And you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, God.
And you're dying. Yeah. You're just like, but can you keep calm? Because the moment you panic, it's over.
So my number one submission, as I'm a top guy, I'll sit on my butt. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna wrestle with you young cats no more. I like 98% of the time I don't wrestle Darian. I'll wrestle with some of the other cats, but I'm just anyway. My number one submission is a smother choke. Get on top of you, bring your hands over your face, and put your face in my chest, and just lay there and just bury your face in my chest, where it's nice and deep and sweaty. If that gi's on, you got about 10, 15 seconds. If you ain't got that, you might have 30 seconds if I just got a shirt on. But it's the worst feeling you could ever have.
It's basically like waterboarding.
100%.
I mean, it's really it's what it's like.
Yeah, that's what ladies call it. You're always doing this waterboard. Well, if it works, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's part of it. me myself, I go for either arms or I go for the neck. I like ankle picks, but I have issues because I don't always get it right.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
being honest. I love it. I somehow can always get it possession of it,
yeah,
but then I fuck it up.
yeah.
I'm just being
Oh
honest.
yeah,
And I'm a big component. I a lot of times because I'm shorter, I have to be cautionary.
oh
I'll
yeah,
measure the guy and look at their legs. If I don't think they can get me in a body triangle and we're on the ground,
yeah.
I'll give them my back. And a lot of people go, why? And I say because I'm very, very good at balling up,
Being tight,
and then I just wear them out just
Yeah.
enough, and then
fighting.
I just rotate into
Yeah.
their guard, and I get them in a can opener, and then it's just
That's hilarious.
that's just what I like to do.
It's
I don't
hilarious.
mind, but if they get a body triangle, that's the most.
That's my deal.
I hate body
Listen,
triangles, man,
it's-
but they are efficient.
Heck yeah,
Obviously, you know.
It's funny because you say the can opener.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to go up to, if I were to take you to Knob Noster right now, and you would ask, if you were to put me in the center and say, what's this guy tapped you guys out with? That would be probably 9 out of 10 guys with that can opener. It's my deal, man. I don't even know if I can't get out of your guard. I like if you want to stay there and play in this guard with your legs locked, that's fine. Because at some point in time, you've got other muscles that you're not using as much of. So I'm gonna snatch that neck up and I'm gonna pry and pry.
Yep.
You're either gonna let it go, let that
You're gonna
guard
have
go.
to. You're gonna have to
Something
hand
happen.
fight. You're gonna have to do
Something's gonna have to
something
Yeah.
because it's same thing. And like you said, it's like it's nothing for them to as soon as they essentially alleviate their legs. Now you're gonna fall on top of them, chest to face.
Yes.
Chest to face.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah, chest
now,
to chest.
And now I love it. I love that type of environment. I love people that. Some people think can openers are bad.
It's if you're a lower belt, like I always ask, like if I'm going no gi, I always
Mhm.
ask, hey, what belt are you? If they're like a low level white belt, I don't do it.
Fair.
I
Yeah,
don't.
that's fair.
That's
I mean,
mean. That's
yeah,
mean,
it can
That's
be.
rude. That's mean. Like you don't do it to newbies because that stuff hurts, dude.
Oh, it's gonna hurt for a while.
yeah,
too.
I mean, you're gonna wake up in the morning realizing, yeah, you got can opener, man. It ain't like a little arm bar. You just shake it off or something. That stuff hurts. So
Mhm.
I try to be nice about it, but I try to teach my women the worst. I try to put them in the best position for any chokes or arm bars as possible. Like I try to lead them into the easiest stuff. I don't teach them anything that's going to be complicated because I want them to be able to compete and use it on other women, but I want them to be able to take it to the street just in case they were to get grabbed up and put on their back
Mhm.
or just put in a vulnerable position. I want to give them the easiest tools that they could possibly have to make things efficient for them. So my women are chokers, arm bar specialists. I try to teach them arm bars from like every single angle I can get them to learn an arm bar from. So, break it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you. I mean, honestly, I don't. I mean, in sport and competition, it is what it is. People have to understand. It's like some people are really flexible.
Yeah.
So if you don't go in there with that intent, okay, you can love, have compassion, think everything of the world of the person across from you, but at the end of the day,
The competition.
and it's the ref's job to stop it. You know, it is what it is.
My
but,
thing
but,
is like-
but even in a real conflict, let's like you said with your ladies, in a real conflict, if you're trying to get away from somebody and you got their arm, break it.
Period.
Don't even think about it. Break it because now they have something to worry about,
Yeah.
and you can get to safety.
Yeah. It's either a really they know a lot of really good sweeps to put you in really bad positions, sweeps to get away. We don't do a lot of sweeping to stay engaged a lot just because I want them to be able to either one sweep into a very dominant position, like a back control where you're already in position for a rear naked choke, or we do a lot of arm bars from rear naked choke position too. So we're gonna get it figured out one way or another. I want you to be able to like not just like get your defender or get your opposition in a bad position, I want you to be able to hurt them to the best of your ability and then get away. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you to be able to, you know,
If they're getting back
I don't
up,
want you to be able to give them a scare.
and you don't want to give them a second opportunity.
Exactly.
It's like if you're getting away and they're just like, "Oh, I'm just going to run you down again." No,
Yeah.
no, get
exactly.
them, break it. So one of the other places that I've seen you a lot, obviously, is at the gym.
Oh yeah.
Now, for me, I'm in a different path now. I do, I did a lot of that powerlifting. I do a lot of circuit training now because I want my muscle condition.
For sure.
I think that that breathing and focused on breathing. You see a lot of these guys just poof,
yeah.
and it's like then they walk across the gym. Yeah, exactly.
Get to the top of the stairs and they can barely.
And I'll give a shout out to Ari because he made me push the sled one day. And just he's like, "Oh, I'll just push the sled," and this was like probably at the height of my powerlifting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I went down and back like I'm gonna say 4 times. That's all I did, and I was like ready to throw up. And I was like, "Well, I have," and I hate to say it, but we're ego people. You know what I mean?
Man.
So you sit there and you think about when you were conditioned and when you're running X amount of miles, and you're like, I can't even push a sled for 4. So I'm like, well, obviously I don't have balance here.
Right.
So one thing I'll point out in the weightlifting aspect and why I think it's awesome that you encourage that is bone density. I think people sleep on how important it is to have that bone density.
For sure. And the right type of weight training too. I mean, no disrespect.
Mhm.
I've had my powerlifting days.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
Yeah.
But like longevity,
Yeah. No,
powerlifting ain't it, man.
no, it's not. No. But just in general, weights in general.
Yeah,
bro.
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer. Like I just did a little I try to change, as crazy as it may sound, I change my workout every 12 to 16 weeks.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I'm just
Confuse the body.
period. I do jujitsu, and there's never a situation where you're only going to use that muscle, ever.
Mhm.
So I feel like if I'm just going to do this same, if I'm going to lift heavy for, I don't know, 16, 20, 24
Mhm.
weeks, I'm just going to start to do things that I don't really want it to do as far as my joints and stuff like that. So I just keep it changed up. you
And
know what I'm saying?
mobility does go down. I think one of my favorite machines that I can't find, I would probably buy one. Billy in Tipton, he used to have one, and you sit in it, and he'd have
It's funny. I already knew what you were talking
man,
about.
them
Yeah,
things,
boy.
man.
Yeah.
I never got so limber. I mean, you'd have
believe
to keep
You
your
wouldn't
knees
believe it.
down,
Yeah.
but that
I think it was rough. Golly, boy, that thing was awesome.
every crank, yeah, and you just and you just had to stay in it for 5-10 minutes,
Breathe,
just suffer,
breathe.
yeah, doing them splits,
Man.
but I think when I think tools to utilize, that is one of them that, like I said, even today, if I could just get one, I think I'd probably buy one just for that reason.
Dude, I tell you what, it's crazy as it may sound. Look up just some mobility, like some jujitsu mobility stuff, dude. You'd be first of all, it looks like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
But like we do some of it at the studio sometimes before or as we warm up. And I'll tell you, like when we first started, my wife couldn't do a front roll. Equilibrium, not it. Now she's walking on her hands, doing handstands.
Nice.
She's working on doing handstand push-ups and stuff like that. Like just doing things that you just don't normally do is extremely important.
See, I'm a big component of neck bridges too.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a forgotten art anymore. I don't hardly see it, and yet
Come on over.
because you see, in wrestling, obviously, yes,
Yeah.
you see it there,
Yeah.
but even Taylor, he was telling me, he's like, well, when we played football, we had to do it. Strong neck,
Yep.
strong neck. Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
and
Dude, you used to see at the gym. Most gyms had the little helmet deal you put on your head with the chain,
mhm.
and then you put the weight on the chain and get the little net.
And people-
I haven't seen them in a while.
people make fun of it until they realize how good that is.
Come here, let me grab your neck.
Yeah. 2
You grab your
seconds.
neck real
2
quick.
seconds.
Yeah,
That's all it
for
takes.
sure.
And that's the other thing. I don't think people realize how easy it is, like
Dude,
how quick it is.
I tell you one thing that people don't realize, and it's most people don't kickbox or box or whatever, but like just having the strength in your neck helps you not get knocked out.
Oh, I agree. 1,000%.
Like when you get hit and that strength is there to stabilize your neck, it's a lot different than when you get hit and you don't have that stabilizer and your neck whips. That's
I hate to say this because I love him to death, but the perfect example of what you just said was Stipe versus Francis. Because,
no. You sure it was, or was it? There was that one, but there was also the Francis versus Alistar
oh
Overeem.
God, yeah, that neck snap, the uppercut. That's a yeah. No, you're right.
Golly.
I was thinking of when Stipe, just before he lost that fight, he throws a beautiful, just straight punch, and I mean it's flush and it hits Francis, but Francis just muscles for days,
for sure.
and it stuns him for just about a half a second, and then he throws his punch, and it was lights out. You watch Stipe's head just snap.
The very
Yeah, the very end.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
And I mean,
it was a sequence. I think Francis threw a jab, and then he went to jab the body. He threw a jab at the face, then he went to jab the body, and then Stipe went to counter with that right, and then Francis pulled back, and then threw his right, and that was it.
Yeah, and also, I mean, outside of MMA, I mean, look at Tyson. I mean, go look up a video of Prime Tyson and go look at his neck.
They say if you weren't conditioned, if you didn't have the neck strength to get hit by Mike Tyson, he could break your neck. If he hit you and you didn't have the neck strength
I'm good
to get hit, he could break your. Isn't that scary?
That's terrifying.
Golly, man. I mean,
well, that's why I don't understand this. That's another thing me and Taylor talked about is that slap league. I'm sorry, man. That ain't for me. Could you imagine? Imagine Francis Ngannou just being like, "All right, I'm just gonna put my hands behind my back. He's gonna get one swing at you." It's like I feel like he would just kill you.
Dude, I hate that. I don't like. How do you hate sports? It's hard to hate sports, but I hate that sport. You guys made slapping each other a sport, and it's like doing something, and people are like, "I'm the slap league."
And I think another thing from experience, I'm sure, and we can talk about Nick and Nate and all that. If somebody has never been slapped in the temple, it can be worse than getting punched.
Oh yeah, that'll ring your bell like nobody's business,
yeah,
dude.
It'll get your
ring your bell.
Literally.
Oh yeah.
And
fuzzies, lights get the blink. Hey, listen, I got slapped by my ex one time. I forget the situation, but she didn't like what was going on. She pulled up, "You MF, pow," and I'm like, it was probably the worst thing I've ever, like. I've been in plenty of fights.
Yeah.
And to get slapped open hand, it was cold too. Like the just ringing in the ear, the throbbing.
Yeah.
It was like my head was in a vice, just being like pump, boom, boom, boom. It was awful, dude. And these cats are like,
"Oh, just do it.
Stand here with no."
Nah, I'm not about that.
No, you ain't got enough money for me to do that. Sorry, I don't care what kind of check you're writing me. I just don't feel like me. I don't feel like I'm gonna stand here in this spot and let you slap me.
So, I know we're getting short on time here, but so tell us about your gym hours real fast.
So it's more by appointment.
Okay.
Just because there's so many classes and everything's so all over the place, it's more by appointment. There's some things coming in the works. I'm not gonna say it out loud just yet. There's some things in the works. We're doing some big stuff. We're growing. You know what I'm saying?
Good.
We are growing. We just recently started working with some of the Mo Valley guys wrestling team, and that just hit us like a storm, dude. They've been coming down and
Good.
opened up some major doors for us as the MMA program goes. And for some strange and odd reason, I don't even know what, but I've had several Marshall people in general contact me about training. So, Marshall, Missouri, watch out for the body shop.
I'm excited. I'm really excited for
Sure,
it too.
for sure.
Um, Now, is there anything else you want to give a shout out to, or any information you want to put out for everybody?
I say this, man. If you got children, I say children. I listen. Think about learning something, man. Think about learning just some way to get active. Learn how to protect yourself a little bit, just a little bit. And I'm not no disrespect to anyone. Guns are cool. No disrespect to anyone that carries a gun and wants that as their protection, but I'm just going to be honest with you. And don't take this the wrong way, but your gun ain't always going to be there to save you. Somebody comes up behind you and you got your gun on your hip, your gun ain't going to be there to save you.
I'm going to say this for Taylor. Obviously, have you seen Friday?
Yeah, for sure.
There's that when he says, he's like, I'm one of those, I'm a little old school too. And then luckily in the military where I was stationed at first, there's some really cool cats, but they were old school method.
For sure.
They always said, it's like, hey, this allows you to fight for another day.
Period.
Okay? It's like, look, I understand what guns are there for. I get that. But when you got a problem with somebody,
settle it.
Be an adult. I'm not going to say man or woman. It's like be an adult. It's like settle it the right way and then leave it alone.
I'm all about it.
That's it's like if there's one thing I pulled from that movie that he really pointed out to me, that was it.
You live to fight another day.
You live to fight another day.
Yeah, man.
And there's a lot of truth in it. It's like you might get your ass kicked, but here's the thing. I'm
gonna buy you a beer after though.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta
listen.
Is it so true about that people that hate each other before a fight?
Yeah.
And then what happens after?
I want to kill you.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily, put a gun to your head and kill you, but like I want to hurt you, like in the most violent way possible. Like I want to take your neck. I want to break your arm. I want to do something to you that is going to make you think you never want to cross my path again. And then after that, let's shake hands and let's go have a beer.
Let's go have a beer. I love it. Even Dan Hooker, did you see that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were both in the hospital sharing, just hanging out.
He had a broken cheekbone from the dude.
That head kick was scary, bro. Whew, Jalen kicked him in his face kind of hard. But yeah, man, you guys just, I just say this, man, just try to be more involved, The world's a scary place, man, and it ain't getting no easier for anybody. So, if you can get to it, man, find your place to train at, man. Just learn something, put your kids in something. As we get older, we already know as adults, things have gotten a little scarier, man. Just imagine your kids, man.
You want them to be able to go outside and play.
Period. You want them to be able to go to the park and not worried about them getting beat up because the next kid done beat them up, and you just never know who knows what. So, just try to get some fitness in your life one way or another, man.
Well, John, I can honestly say I love our talk. I love talking MMA. Hopefully, sooner or later, I can get Darian on. Maybe you can come back and we'll have the 3 mic set up again and we can all talk. Because, Taylor really wants to be here. Yeah. And he wanted to talk about it, too, because he loves UFC just as much as me.
Yeah.
And it's an honor and privilege to always have great guests on and entrepreneurs, good members of the community that for Sedalia and just all around good people. So I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, real quick, speaking of members of the community, with this next move I'm gonna make, I need you guys to be looking out for my scholarships. We'll be doing some Sedalia Body Shop scholarships for some of those kids that can't get in, some of those single parents or some of those parents who just can't afford to get them kids out there. We're going to be doing some scholarships for some of those kids. So be on the lookout for that, guys. And, stay tuned. The Body Shop's doing some things, man.
Well, here at Smooth Talk, we definitely wish you the best. We're going to be watching, and hopefully we can have you back on soon.
For sure. Appreciate the opportunity.
We're going to end it the same way we always do.
Oh, yeah.
We're just going to point at the camera, and we're going to send it home. So thank you, everybody. Like and subscribe.
Appreciate you.
Who are you?